our sales have gone up $8.2 million so far through the end of third quarter, which is a 20.3% increase from last year. So, pretty hot.
If you're doing math.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to have you talk about the three things, and you don't have to look at him, or you can just talk to the team.
Yeah.
The three things you're doing, there's a lot of things you're doing well, but there's three things I think that I want to hammer home on.
Okay.
One is you get Google reviews and you add content. So one is reviews and content. Two is the group interview. And three is scripting and firing the idiots that won't follow the scripts. So let's go with Google reviews and content. How do you do it? How have you gotten your team to do it? Just the people in here can then take this knowledge and share with their clients.
So a year ago, I had a 16-member sales team. Today, I have 2 of those people still remaining on my team. So I meet with them every single week and make sure that they're doing Google reviews, and we have 16 different locations on Google My Business, so we have a lot of locations to get reviews for. In the last 30 days, we have, between all of those locations, just under 200 Google reviews, and but I force them to do a certain number every single week. And so they saw the people who were there have heard from the people, or the people who are there heard from the people who used to be there, that when we started getting more Google reviews, we started having more people come in the doors. And actually our traffic in our models is way up. And if you look behind the scenes on Insights, you can see where people are clicking on driving directions and showing up at our models because of Google reviews.
Ready to buy.
And they're ready to buy. Yeah, they're convinced before they get there. When we hit 100, it seemed like it was a tipping point on our main page that at 100, the customers were convinced before they came in that they wanted a home from us, which I never saw before.
And we don't change the ads. Pretty much the ads are the same.
Haven't changed them in a long time. Yeah.
And the ads work because of the reviews.
Yep.
And you guys are writing content. You write
Yep.
content. We've been writing
Yeah,
content.
same thing every week. I make sure that they do podcasts, and I gave you, I don't even know how many this last week, but lots of them. So
Every week.
Every week.
But the reason why the relationship I have with Aaron is really solid as far as a coaching relationship goes is that he does not bring in his employees and ask for their feedback about the things I'm telling you.
No.
He does not ask them, hey, what do you guys think? And so I can say to him in a meeting, hey, fire those people. And then one of the people that he fired goes to Dr. Breck's chiropractic center. So he's getting an adjustment. He's like, you work with Clay, don't you? He goes, yes. He's like, I hate that guy. He got me fired. And so Breck says something to the effect of, okay, well, let me adjust your back. And he continues to share how he doesn't like that he got fired. But at the end of the day, the reason why whoever it was, I don't even know the person's name, they got fired, so they just would not write reviews and wouldn't write content. So It's really important with your clients that they shouldn't bring their employees to those meetings if at all possible, because that's a problem.
Yeah, and the other thing was, at first I started by just doing the group interview when I needed somebody, and then it seemed like the more and more I held people accountable, the more and more I needed somebody all the time. So,
that crucible where I think we worked together about 1.5 years, and I remember we had a conversation, and if I'm saying it wrong, correct me, but it was something to the effect of, is having this much turnover good? It was something like that.
In fact, I think I said it in that tone of voice.
Because leadership sometimes tell you that if you have high turnover, you're a bad boss.
Right.
And I would tell you that if you have low turnover, you're a bad boss.
So a really cool meeting that happened is one of the people that I most recently fired, who was demanded a meeting with Glenn Shaw to complain about the Thrive method of doing things, that we had turned over 31 people in 2 years. He had counted. And he had gone and gotten transcripts from all of them to share with Mr. Shaw about how horrible the Thrive way doesn't work. And so as he sat down to start explaining this, he's like, well, let me just explain that system doesn't work and there's been so much turnover. And Glenn goes, let me just stop you right there. The last 3 years have all been record-setting years for us, both in volume and profitability. So that argument isn't going to fly right here. So, did you have something else you wanted to talk about? So that was the entirety of our conversation.
But I just wanted you guys to give examples, because he and I are both Patriots fans, and they got a guy Ben Watson, I believe his name was, who was drafted on the Patriots. He played on the Patriots for I think 3 seasons or 2 seasons, and then they let him go play somewhere else. And he's been in the NFL for I think 15 years. And they convinced he and his wife and their 7 kids to move back to New England and to unretire to play this year as tight end.
Yeah.
And then they just cut him the other day
Right.
because he wasn't a good fit. So the point is, it's like if you look at the roster of the Patriots or any team that wins at anything, you're very loyal to people who perform, but people who can't get it done, you're not mad at them. It's just like, I realize that you and your wife and your 7 kids have moved here and you came out of retirement. All these things are great, but we're cutting you.
Yep.
Because you're not performing within the system.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole goal of a business is to grow the business. The goal of the business is not to create a fun camp environment for the employees to hang out.
This
Does that
is
make
so
sense?
true. Yeah.
So it's very different though than, but if you hadn't cut those people, we couldn't do it. Now you have a great team.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them have been there now 6 months or a year. We're starting to get it. And then those people should stick around for years.
Yeah, and like 50 people a week keep coming, looking, and everybody wants to work at our company, and it's pretty awesome.
So let's recap though. Group interviews every week.
Yep.
How many candidates do you have every week that are showing up at this point?
I mean, we get like 50-ish
I think we had
per week.
71 RSVP.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had 70 something, but like 50 show up,
Yeah.
and then that's out of like 120 to 130 that apply every week.
And out of last week's batch, we probably had 8 people, maybe 9 people
Mm-hmm.
that I think would be a great fit for Shaw.
Yep.
But it's because they want it, not because they have experience selling houses.
Yep.
So it's about 8 or 9 from last week. And then content, you're getting that every week. Reviews, you're getting every week. You're not changing your ads every week.
I'm going to throw one more thing in here
Yeah.
that you didn't ask about, but that was really relevant for me. And that is, I feel like what we do is super specialized. When I first came in here, I was like, but you don't understand, our business is different. I know you guys have all heard this, right? You don't understand, our business is different. This is so specialized. There's so much training that needs to go into this. And I never in a million years thought that I could get people to like sell homes right away that hadn't been here for a year going through intensive training. And the interesting part of it is we just hired a couple of people who have never done this, don't know what they're doing, plugged them into the system. One of them did 1.5 million in sales his first 30 days, which is just nuts. And he's never done this before. The other one was like 1.2 million in 30 days. And we've sold with tons of brand new people. By the way, while I was out of town in Alaska for 2 weeks, we sold in 60 days, we sold 46 houses. So kind of crazy with all brand new people.
And then the scripting we have going on, starting this week, I think you guys are bringing by workstations.
Yep.
And then we'll hire 2 people that'll work in this building, but just calling just for you, for your
Yep.
leads all the time.
Yep.
And the scripting, can you explain how the scripting has fixed things too? 'Cause now there's a script for everything.
Yeah, so that was the part about like them having to be like so proficient in what we do. I thought they needed to know everything about the entire company and all the massive amounts of data and charts and stuff we have. But interestingly, if I just give them 4 things they need to talk about in each home on a 1 sheet, and then what we call the path, which explains how to buy a home, and I literally make them read the bullet points while pointing to each bullet point on this chart, the customer completely understands how to buy a home from us. And then we created what we call the John Kelly method of pricing out the customer, thanks to John, kudos, for the pricing out of the home, which was like the most complicated part because you needed to know everything about how a home is built. Well, you no longer do. It's just literally a PowerPoint where they read what's on every slide as they go through this slideshow. And it literally asks them the question, do you want this or this? This is how this works. Do you want this or this? And they don't need to know anything.
3 years ago, before we met, what were the sales for the year? Because you'd already sold $800 million of houses before.
Yeah, that year, I want to say we were at 36 million.
And what are we at right now so far?
Today we are at 62 million.
And then we're going to end the year, unless we suck.
I think we'll be at 80 million this year.
Wow.
By the end of the
Now,
year.
one thought for you: when you sell a house, you make a profit of about 6%. The company makes.
That's net after all expenses. Although that number is up, we're probably going to be at about 8.5% this year.
So if a house is $300,000 the average house,
Mhm.
and the profit was 10%, which is not. That would be $30,000, so it's 8%. It'd be $24,000. So $24,000 of profit per house you sell,
Yep.
and then I make $2,000 per month. That's what I charge you. I think,
Yep.
Or $1,700.
We are 2,500.
Okay, because you're exclusive for houses.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay. So he pays $2,500.
Yep.
So if he sells one house, he paid for me for the year.
Yep.
And you usually sell a house a week, which means I pay for myself for the year every week.
I'm pretty sure out of the extra 8.2 million this year, we can afford you.
Which is why I have the Yeezys.
I did the math. I had our accounting department look at that real close.
Aaron's gonna be auto shipping us all Yeezys.
Oh, wow.
It's a statement of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, anybody have any questions for Aaron? Because Shaw, this is an example of what the relationship should look like after 3 years. Does anybody have any questions for a real life win?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for you coming in with the mindset of we're unique, we're different,
Mm-hmm.
how was it? What did Clay do? How did he get you to think differently about your business?
He mocked me with humor, and repeatedly, over and over again,
Yeah.
and told me different stories of other examples from other industries, and I definitely had a pain threshold there that I was willing to at least look at it. I think I believed half of what he told me at the beginning and thought, prove it to me on the other half. And so as I started to get wins in certain areas, like the Google review thing really gave us wins, and then the no-brainer gave us a bunch of wins, and we started getting a lot more leads coming in. So that credibility lended itself to going, okay, maybe he's right about some of this other stuff too. So I started like trying other parts of it. Like I remember the first time I did the group interview, I was shocked at how much time it saved me. And so
Literally, it's like 50 hours of time saved.
yes.
Maybe even more than that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, just so you guys know, if you are Aaron and you didn't have a group interview, you'd have to go through and read all the resumes and then guess who's lying and who's not based
Yep.
upon penmanship or the college they went to or
Yeah.
how they formatted it or whatever. And then you'd have to interview the people. And then you'd have, I mean, it's just terrible.
I can also remember like some meetings sitting in, and it was like the fourth or fifth time he had told me the same thing, but just in a slightly different way, always with humor, because if you're gonna be honest, you got to be funny.
You look at Bible verses,
Yep.
and you and I have seen this before. We've been to church long enough to see this, but there are pastors in America today who advocate that money is bad because it's the root of all evil. I'm sure you've all heard that argument. Aaron, have you heard this argument?
Yes. Mhm.
And I'm sure you've heard pastors paraphrase parts of Scripture that explain that you should basically be poor because of money is bad. I'm sure you've heard this.
Yeah.
But if anybody here would actually read the context of it, you'd understand that the love of money overall is bad. It just, money in and of itself is just a thing. It's not bad or good. But anyway, like, so when you guys are citing things, most marketing companies in Tulsa either A, do not cite things, or they cite emotional arguments.
Mhm.
So it'll be like this. If you're dealing with most marketing companies in Tulsa, they would say, asking for reviews doesn't work. And furthermore, you can't ask in the home. Because if you ask them in the home, it's going to show up as a review from the same IP address, and then the reviews won't count. And so really what we want to do is make this app for you. And this app called Pilot, what's it called, Pilot? Trustpilot. What's another one? Just like, and it's going to text people or email them and ask them how their experience was, and then they'll leave a review that way. And so when I'm telling my client, you have to get reviews in the home right then, boom, 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 it is flying in the face of every other marketing firm in Tulsa. Everybody else is saying the opposite of what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Your employees are saying the opposite of what I'm saying. Articles online that are written by randos who have blogs are also saying. So,
And then I had a couple that thought you were nuts.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if I didn't cite it, there's zero hope.
Yeah.
You can't just go in there and say things, and you cannot not be funny. Like, not being funny is a really bad thing.
Yep.
You have to be very honest with people.
Yeah, I mean, you had some painful conversations with me through the process. You know, I mean, probably out of the first 20 times we met, I only cried like 8 times. So, but during those painful conversations, when you mix it with humor, made it a little bit easier to palate. So, and then it was logical argument too, so I would go home and like think through the logic of what you mentioned and
But
then
false
think about
logic
the
was-
cited stuff.
But false logic is what other marketing firms use. I want to make sure you understand. You can't just say, well, like, a 9 out of 10 business owners are using Trustpilot to get reviews. Like, you can't. That's not that's false logic. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they are, which is why they're wrong. Or you can't say that 9 out of 10 business owners think that a group interview is unethical and it doesn't work. Yeah, that's also false logic. Of course they don't, because they're wrong. And so it's almost like, and I told you the other day, Nick, I said, if everybody says something, I always then go the opposite of what they think is true. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to teach these clients this stuff, and you got to cite it, otherwise they won't. I'm just telling you, because other marketing firms are teaching false logic, which is 9 out of 10 people say you shouldn't use the script because you don't want to make your employees feel like robots. Well, that's great. That is a great stat. You know, but you shouldn't be asking your employees if they want to feel like robots or not. That's a false question. So any other questions for Aaron? Because Aaron's been out down the path, down the system for years now and doing a great job. And I think next year, if Trump wins, I think you'll do $100 million of sales. If he loses, I think you'll probably do 80 again.
Yep.
We'll see. But I mean, do you agree with that?
I would agree with that, but I'll say either way, we're doing 100 million next year.
Okay, any other questions for Aaron?
Yeah, I have a question about the sales scripting process and also the John Kelly method process.
Yeah.
When you go to do that project to work on your business, was that harder than you thought it was going to be initially? Like, once you'd been through the process, what was that like compared to what you thought it would be like?
I wouldn't say it was harder. I mean, the one thing, you know, the phrase, first you nail it, then you scale it. Mm-hmm. Like, I already had all the information in my brain. It was more of a thing of, like, putting it all down on paper. Mm-hmm. And it really helped, like, having John live to talk to because he had just been through our old process. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, I can't picture what you're talking about. You're trying to describe to me what crown molding on top of these windows looks like, and I don't have a picture in front of me. I can't see it. So it was a delegation of getting all these photos brought together. Mm-hmm. But then literally what Clay said is write down exactly what you would say and then make them say what you would say, but you have it all written down. And so that part was pretty easy, although it took a little bit of time. The content was easy, and I think for most people, if they're like they come from the place of being a technician in their business and now they're trying to be the business owner, they should be able to take that technician information and just translate it down. You might need to be the person who kind of steers the ship a little bit if they do kind of not know how to like communicate well or something.
I have one more thought that let me know that Aaron was on the right track. He now hates website edits the way I do.
Yes.
Because we realize it's stupid things that don't actually help.
I do.
So we do as few as possible. We have to, because you have inventory, you have to update it. But I mean, most clients want to do endless website edits. And we got to a place where I think you and I had a conversation. I don't remember what meeting it was, but I said something like, Aaron, I want your website to be able to do this, that, and this. I want us to be able to have an app that does online sales where people can go online and pick their own crap. I want this to happen, but it's not canonically compliant, so your site won't rank high if we do those things. So we can make the site look really great, but no one would find it, if that makes sense. So we're going to make it look as good as it can while sticking within the guidelines of Google. But there was a time where I could tell, you can tell when the relationship's good or not, when the client starts to disdain website edits, because they recognize it as not being a profitable activity.
Well, and I also started to realize it actually really doesn't matter that much what your website looks like. It just matters if it gets found. I mean, and then what your no-brainer is. Like, those are the things
and you put
that
Lucky
really
Orange
matter.
on your site. Where do people spend their time on your site?
They only go to, we had all these different things they could go do, and we found out of like the 10 things they could do, they only looked at move-in ready available homes and the photo gallery, and that was it. They didn't go anywhere else. And they never went below the fold, ever.
Never scroll down.
Never scroll down.
Biggest home builder in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
There it is. Any other questions
We
for
had
Aaron?
tons of content below the fold. Oh, God. So much good stuff that nobody ever saw.
Any other
It
questions
was
for
awesome.
Aaron? Anybody? No? Well, Aaron, big win. leave if you want, or you can hang out.
Okay,
if you
good.
want.
I've got other stuff to do. So.
All right. Gotta get